If you own a rental property, turnovers can either be smooth and profitable or turn into your worst nightmare. Want to know how to handle them like a pro? Let's dive into the do's and don'ts of rental turnovers that will save you money, time, and headaches. Hi, I'm Aguinaga with LJ Realties in Montreal. And today's video was actually requested by one of our amazing followers. So you know we had to deliver. We're talking about one of the most important parts of rental property management, the turnover. Whether you have one unit or a whole portfolio, mastering turnovers is crucial to protecting your investment and keeping your cash flow strong. Before we get started, a big thank you to Club Atwater for hosting us today. Whether you're looking for fitness, squash, pickleball, badminton, or simply a vibrant social community in the heart of Montreal, Club Atwater is where it's at. Don't forget to consider them for your next big event. Check them out at clubatwater.ca. I've been a member here since 2022 and absolutely love it. Now, let's start by quickly defining what a turnover really is, and then we'll get into the biggest do's and don'ts that every landlord needs to know. A rental turnover happens when a tenant moves out and the property is prepared for a new tenant. It's the period between one lease ending and another lease starting. It includes cleaning, repairs, inspections, advertising, and finding a new tenant. And here's why it matters. The faster you complete a turnover, the sooner you're back into generating rental income. But rushing or missing key steps could lead to bad tenants, legal issues, or expensive repairs later. And sometimes tenants are leaving and arriving on the same day, so the coordination can be tricky. Look, this is absolutely one of the most important parts of running rental real estate. And a lot of people get this wrong. And I know that when we were first starting, it was difficult to manage. You had a lot of emotions, you have a lot of people, you have a lot of high stress. And National Moving Day in Montreal, for whatever the reason, is July 1st. So you have about 20% of the entire city moving on that singular day, which makes everything a lot more complicated, a lot more expensive. And again, emotions, like I mentioned, tend to run high. If you can master this and make this a smooth process, your new tenants are gonna be starting off on the right foot, and it's really gonna set the foundation for the future of your relationship with them. If you get this wrong, well, like I just said, you're starting off on the wrong foot, unfortunately. So let's break this down for you. First, perform a full move-out inspection. Document the property's condition with photos and notes. Then, compare it to the move-in inspection report. Following that, you want to identify damages that are beyond normal wear and tear. Now, this part is super important, and again, it all starts with obviously having a move-in report. Most people do not have a move-in report, and that's when they find themselves in tricky situations when they want to try and charge back items to the tenants who are about to leave. So it all starts with the proper preparation and planning. Second on the list, handling repairs quickly. You want to make sure to fix everything before the new tenant moves in. You want to focus on the essentials like plumbing, electrical, appliances, locks, etc. Here's a pro tip for you. A well-maintained property attracts better tenants. And again, this all goes back to starting things off on the right foot. If you can take care of these things beforehand, the new tenants are going to be super grateful. And chances are you promised to take care of these things when you were showing the apartment. So you want to make sure you make good on your promise. Number 3 on the list, a deep clean of the property. Tenants expect a fresh, clean home. Who doesn't like that? Don't just surface clean, do a deep clean with baseboards, appliances, windows, carpets. Again, this is super important because everybody wants to start things off on the right foot. And if you do a proper deep clean, I'm talking about all the edges of the moldings, etc., people really feel that and they know that you take good care of the property. And again, you're just starting things off on a better foot, which is what everybody wants when they're moving into a new place. Number 4, reevaluate the rental price. Is your rent still competitive with the current market? Has your unit been upgraded or has the market shifted? You're gonna wanna consider adjusting the rent. And this is one of the places where sometimes we get into discussions with landlords that we're representing to rent other properties because they hear that the market's gone up significantly, they wanna charge X amount of rent, and being on the field, renting over 100 units every single year, we really have our pulse on the market and we can understand what tenants are willing to pay right now and not willing to pay. So you wanna make sure that your rent is competitive because there's no better way to really abolish your chances of renting property to the good tenants in the right time frame than having the wrong rental price. Number 5, market the property properly. Now that's a tongue twister, but you wanna make sure to take professional photos. You wanna make sure to write a great listing description. You wanna post it early, ideally while repairs are still being finished up so that you can avoid long vacancies. What I like to do with a lot of my properties is that before we do this, when the property is fresh and clean and just finished renovations, I'll take all the photos, I'll potentially digitally stage it, I'll have it really looking in its best condition so I can reuse that marketing material down the road. If you can take the time to do this properly at the beginning, you're not gonna be worried about what kind of furniture the tenant currently have in there, what's the current state of it. You're gonna have the right crisp images to get new tenants into the property early. Number 6, screen new tenants carefully. You want to check their credit, their income, the references, and rental history. A bad tenant is way more expensive than spending a few extra days on market. Now, This is something that I see people make a mistake on all the time. Everybody usually is like, I need to rent it out. I don't want to waste any time. I want absolutely no vacancies. And they skip this critical part. And again, I've never had more landlords call me being like, oh, I made a mistake. I rented it to somebody who I shouldn't. I didn't take the time to do the full due diligence, and now they're not paying, or now the place is a mess, or now, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, don't skip these steps that seem small and minute, but are really of critical importance when maintaining a property over long periods of time. So moving on, we're now going to talk about what you should never do during a turnover. First, never skip the move-out inspection. If you don't document the condition it's in, it's going to be your word against the tenants. You could lose damage claims or deposit disputes without evidence. Again, we spoke about this earlier in the video, but if you don't have any evidence to the contrary, then there's no way of proving that the property wasn't in that condition beforehand, and you've got no leg to stand on. What you say is one thing, but what you have documented, that's really where the worth and the value is. Number two, never delay repairs or cleaning. First impressions matter. Dirty or damaged units turn away quality tenants and attract desperate ones. Again, I feel like I'm really hammering this home here, but you want to attract the right tenants, and a place that is clean, that does not require major repairs, that is in good condition, is going to attract the right people, because the reality is the right people don't want to deal with repairs, don't want to deal with messes to clean up, etc. People have a certain standard of living, and that usually reflects the kind of tenant that they're going to be for you. Number three, never underestimate the time needed. You're always going to want to plan a few days to a week between leases, ideally, and I know this isn't always going to work out, but if you rush tenants for repairs and for cleaning at the very end, and you're trying to make this all work, it becomes very, very difficult to manage these two things. So you want to make sure that you have the appropriate time. Number four, never forget to update legal documents. Lease agreements need to be customized to new tenants. You're going to want to draft up new leases, do annexes. You're going to review and adjust the terms if necessary, especially with the new rental laws that we had in 2025. There were a lot of changes that happened in the market that you need to be aware of and that you need to add to your leases. So if you have questions on what those are, feel free to reach out to me and my team. I'd love to help you with that. Number five, never overprice without market research. If your rent is way above the market, the unit will sit empty, costing you thousands of dollars in lost income. And this is where, like I mentioned before, I usually get into discussions with landlords, because obviously every landlord always wants the maximum rent possible. And trust me, I want to get every single landlord the maximum rent possible. As a landlord, I understand how important this is when it comes to refinances, when it comes to cash flow, when it just becomes to managing a property properly. But I promise you that if you anchor on a price that's way too high and you do not adjust after 2 to 3 weeks on market based on the feedback that you're getting from the market, if you're not getting a steady flow of visitors, etc., well, you risk burning the property. And the reality is the good tenants who have all the great qualifications that you're looking for, well, they look early because they're not looking to be scrambling at the very end. Unless you have a divorce, a separation, a death in the family, something of that nature, people usually plan their moves 2 to 3 months in advance. So if you're within that 2-month margin of when the occupancy is going to be for that property, you're probably no longer going to be dealing with the cream of the crop. So like I said, pricing your property properly has a huge importance in finding the right tenants for you. Now, this is all fine and dandy when you have a few weeks between tenants, but this translates into lost revenue. My recommendation is to always send out your renewal notices early, at least 5 months before the end of leases, so that you have enough time to prepare for the turnover. In Quebec, a tenant has 30 days from the receipt of a renewal notice to confirm whether they are staying or moving out. This means that you'll have at least 4 months to prepare for the move out. Once the current tenant confirms that they are not renewing, I recommend you schedule a walkthrough of the unit. This will allow you to assess how much work you will have ahead of you. How the tenant has lived in that unit up until that point will be a good indication of the care they will give the unit for the rest of their stay. If you don't see any major work upcoming, then feel free to search for tenants for the same day that the current lease expires. If you do foresee work, take into account when you're starting a new tenant search. In conclusion, managing turnovers the right way can mean the difference between a high-performing property and a costly headache. If you follow these simple do's and don'ts, you'll protect your investment and attract great tenants and maximize your returns. And after all, isn't that what we're all looking for? What's the biggest challenge you face during a rental turnover? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you need any help managing your rental properties or finding your next investment, my team at LJ Realties and Plex Doctor is here to help. Book a consultation through the link in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tips on navigating Montreal's real estate market. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.